I am the mother of two superheroes. My daughter Cora was born with the disease of cystic fibrosis. At the age of 16, the doctors told us that Cora might have the possibility of extending her life by a double lung transplant. That was great news because we were facing her death. Her time came, and it would be Christmas Eve when Cora received her gift of life. A young woman had passed away that evening and yet had been thoughtful enough to tell her family of her desires for the use of her organs for others. They saved 4 women that night. My daughter Cora was one of them. This was amazing to Cora. And she spoke of this woman, Erica, the rest of her life, almost daily. She was my organ donor. I walk with her lungs today. Cora had challenges. After transplant, the doctors told her that the lungs would not be recovering and that she was no longer a candidate for a second transplant. Cora knew what that conversation was going to be that day, and she was prepared, letting everyone know that she did not wish to live on a ventilator. She wanted to be sure that we all knew that if we could use any of her organs, that was her desire. Her words were, "Please let me be someone else's hero." It would be a couple days later that Cora passed away, and it happened to be, coincidentally, on Christmas Eve again. On the night that miracles happened, 2 people received her 2 kidneys. 6 years later, in November of 2015, my stepson, Jeremiah, we called him Jeb, had been accidentally shot by a careless handling of a firearm by another person. We could not get there in time to say goodbye. It was only a few hours later that TransLife called to speak to my husband. And the comment was, "Did you know your son was an organ donor?" He wanted to sign his driver's license because he thought what Cora did was so wonderful, and that someday, if he could be an organ donor, he thought that'd be a good idea. Jeb will save hundreds of people with his tissue donation. He has already given sight to another. He will allow someone to walk with his hip. He will allow a heart to beat with his valve. And the many tissues and all that he has donated will impact people for years. That's a superhero. You donate because you may be leaving this earth, but others are still there. Everyone deserves to not watch a family member die when an organ transplant could save them and let them live on. Every donor family impacts other recipients and their families because we're keeping the movement going. It is what life is about, passing it on.